Right.
They're crazy.
All right, I'm gonna start the meeting.
Okay, sorry.
You can pick that.
All right,
Thank you.
this is the meeting of the Ad Hoc Curbside Trash Committee, Thursday, January 12th, 6 p.m. in the Veterans Room. Call to order, Councilor Marquetti is here, Councilor Steves, Health Inspector Daniel Wasuk,
Here.
Board of Health Member Daniel Grabowski, he's excused, Assistant Member Steve Gregoire,
Yep.
Mark Natal,
Yep.
Kathy Grenier,
Yes, sir.
Kevin Buxton,
Yes, present.
and also in attendance is Irene Condon of Mass DEP.
And these guys.
And we have some residents. Oh, thank you for.
Did you want them to sign?
They're signing it.
You sign it real quick too.
It looked like the manager had signed in online, but
He
I
is
don't know
on.
I don't know if he is at the moment, but he was.
I don't know why this isn't showing
I don't know
up.
why it's doing that. So it's doing that on my
I
screen.
think
Oh, there he is.
All right. Thank
We'll
you.
pass this
I,
on
yeah,
to the
I think
audience.
that's, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Of course, you can't see him, but he's there. He can sort of hear.
You got the volume
I'm
turned
not
up?
quite sure why.
It's all the way up, so we'll see if we can hear him.
I don't really understand GoTo very well. I tried doing it on my iPad.
He can hear us, and I just sort of heard him.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 3, consider and approve curbside trash committee minutes of December 8th, 2022. Anybody have anything? You look it over? Has everybody looked it over? I sent out copies today.
Yep.
Did you get one, Gus?
I didn't get a chance to look at it, but
Okay.
That's the agenda. That's the agenda.
It's underneath there.
Oh, I'm sorry, these are the notes right here.
Yep.
I was grabbing for the agenda. Oh, yeah. I read these over already.
Everybody okay with them?
Mm-hmm.
All right, all those in favor, accepting the minutes? Thank you.
Abstain.
You don't have to.
Oh, I don't?
No, you don't.
You can read it.
I did review it.
That's good. You like them?
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
I reviewed the meeting, I didn't
All right.
review. I'm sure they're fine.
Okay, agenda item number 4, and I put this under old business, update on curbside collection 2024 website. I asked Victor to attend the meeting to give us an update on the website.
I reached out to Civic Plus. They're in the process of getting the ball rolling for the curbside domain name as you stated you wanted it. And we'll have that linked back to the URL on the town page, which right now I have as a draft. It's not published yet, but it's already established. So I'm just waiting to hear back from them. I had talked to Anna, and I think she presented what some of the costs were involving that. But it's the same setup as the Think Reduce.
Okay.
So just waiting to hear back when that will be established and the timeframe. And if you want to let me know when you're looking to kind of publish it and make it live.
Oh, I'd put it up as soon as possible.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
As soon as you get the,
So I will ping them
Did
and
that
we'll
already.
get it up there.
all right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think the cost was
I had a
$500.
question
I don't know if you wanted to
IT.
put that.
Yeah, initial cost and then I think like 180 something and 75 for something else annually.
Mhm. And then our DP money can be used for that.
Yeah, that's what it's intended for, so
Mhm.
we have enough. Absolutely.
I had a question. If you go to the town's website, you click curbside advisory, you're still getting the previous curbside advisory. There were 2 meetings listed, they're both from 2020. If we could update that connection as well, because our curbside advisory, like I said, if you go on the website, it's pretty obvious, it hasn't been updated. When I wanted to watch the last meeting for this, I had some difficulty. I went to the cable access area, I followed their instructions, I couldn't find it there. I ended up having to search it down on YouTube. I did end up finding it. So if we can put the latest meetings, when you do update the curbside advisory, put the latest meetings would be very helpful.
I just need someone to send that because I don't have, I can access the website and make those changes, but I don't know when there are updates or any of that happening, so that needs to be sent. Yeah.
That
So
would
if
be
someone
good.
wants to share that information and say, these are things that need to be updated, I can
So
certainly
maybe
put it on
share the
website.
minutes,
Yeah.
so that he gets.
The minutes,
Yeah.
is there, I haven't noticed on the page, but minutes usually, wouldn't they go to, the meeting and agendas and then link the minutes onto
It should,
that?
if they're not there, I will touch base with Hannah to make sure they're going on.
Okay, yeah,
And the video should be going on the cable page of our town website. If they're not there, I'll talk to Jim Cosgrove. All right? Thank
thank
you.
you.
And while we're
Thank
on
you,
the
Victor.
subject, what is going on with that flyer? Because I haven't received it.
The mailings for, yes, well, it is going out supposedly this week. We're waiting, again, it's all been done. It's going to be inside the mailing,
The census.
the census, yes. And that's it. My understanding is next week, very latest. That's where it's projected to go.
Is that census, is that the national census, or is that the census sent out for
Town census.
Town census, town
town
census.
census?
So the way they
So-
compiled it, you know,
So it doesn't
that
just go-
department, yeah, what we had paid for is the insert of the survey, which has all been completed, paid for, all set. It's just a matter of them just getting it out when the census is ready,
Right.
you know?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on this one? Agenda item number 5, update on regional meeting with 75 communities on December 15th, 2022. Put this on here because you had mentioned it at the last meeting.
Yeah,
Maybe you'd want to give us an update on how
so
it
we
went.
did have Anna attend, and I think Michael attended as well. And the next one is coming up. So I'm the regional recycling coordinator for all of Central Mass and my counterparts in Western Mass. So together we have 175 communities, and we have a group that's about 10 communities that are in the next 2 years going to be changing their curbside contract. So we're kind of like doing it together, showing off we have a new resource that instead of just, normally before I'd go one-on-one with the community, and which I've already, talked with Michael as well, of the contracts and doing emails back and forth. We have a nice Google site that everything is on the side. It has the resources, has the contact information, so they can see what other communities' contracts look like. So it's kind of like a bank of updated ones, as well as we had a consultant come 2 years ago and do a revamp of our model contract. So that kind of gives you the different languages. Everybody wants to talk about cart maintenance. We want to talk about, the fluctuation of the recycling markets. Sometimes the company's making a lot of money right now. A lot of them, if you look at their stocks, they're actually doing very well. How is that with markets that are up and down? To make things, how the verbiage should be in the contract. So we kind of share that data between the municipalities. And so the next one is...
Are there any of those contracts that actually include profit sharing?
Yes.
There are.
Yes. So what we kind of do with that is have a third party in which Southbridge has bought... and it's really only $50. It was really good price. It's called recyclingmarket.net, and so that you have what is the price of the mix of the recyclables in the Northeast here.
Mm-hmm.
So, because sometimes you get data and it's like, well, California doesn't really relate to Massachusetts,
Right.
and so what is the current price? And then you kind of say, okay, you have your mix, like your current vendor has the list of what you're collecting in recyclables. Every town has a little different. Some might have more bottles, some might have more paper, might have more cardboard, and you might have more contamination. And you guys worked very hard on getting your contamination down, which was really good. And so that should be in the benefit of the community, not some haulers and some contracts just give a number and you live with that number for that whole contract.
Right.
So you want the to be as transparent as possible. This is what it costs to collect this material and to process it, and they're selling it at the back end. I mean, all these companies are making money. They're bailing it. They're shipping it to make Glass is always a little harder, but everything else does have a market, and plastic has been getting a lot of publicity, but we have a lot of great information on recyclesmartma.org on a whole big article of Mass DEP on plastic is being recycled. It is going on, and to be aware of that.
Are there any of those profit sharing deals that also cover the MSW side of it?
That you're getting,
The stuff that we'd actually be disposing as opposed to recycling?
you're saying about the contamination, or?
No, I mean the profit sharing, since they're making a ton of money off of our town.
Well, I don't know, nobody's
I don't
making a
know- I don't
ton of
know how
money.
that works.
It's
Well-
just there is what I kind of, there's a cost, and before they were making so much, they didn't want us to, it's more being more visible.
Yeah.
And so now you see, because we're doing a lot more processing in Massachusetts, we're doing a lot more processing, and not only of a MRF is a material recovery facility where all your recyclables goes and gets separated, and that's getting less manual, but more like technology, moving things and weight, and just great technology is being used. The state actually helps Casella and others get new technology in there so that they can zap stuff. So that makes it cheaper to move material if you don't have to have so many people there separating. But then you have the other process that they're cutting it up and making new material.
Right.
And that is happening besides taking it to China and shipping it all over the world. A lot of it is happening here in New England. And so sometimes you don't have the cost of transportation, but we have the cost of living that is a lot more. So they put together what's the price to actually process the material. So that has gone up over the years. It was $0, and you guys haven't really paid that. And so in other places that could be 60, 70, a little more for that. But then you do the profit sharing of it, and you bring that down to some communities are paying depending on the contract. It could be 0, it could be 30, it could be 50. It depends on sometimes the month.
Right.
And you can put a floor and a ceiling in there. You can be creative.
My question is, unless we're going to take this step, in other words, zero sort has no market out there. In other
No,
words,
they are being.
our zero sort will have to go to Auburn.
Yeah, that's the MRF.
Yeah.
That's the MRF. If we're looking at any ability to retain some revenue from the backside, wouldn't we have to use our transfer station to do the sorting?
No, that's the MRF. The MRF does the
Right.
sorting.
Well, right, but it's
Going
really just an
forward.
expense to us for the MRF.
Well, it's a lot of work. You have all this stuff, and
I've
everybody.
seen- I've been there.
So yeah, you would not go back after you mix it up. You want the machines to do all the work and separate, especially for 6,300 households.
Yeah.
You can have later a transfer station that has a cardboard bin and maybe even a glass bin that you guys can crush your own and use it for DPW or air and water. Sometimes we use that for grading or
But
drainage
our,
issues.
Our system right now is, I'm not quite sure of the prices, but it's basically, we pay about $120 a ton to get rid of waste, trash. And we pay about $50 a ton to process our recycling. Recycling, people seem to, laymen seem to think, well, oh, I'm giving all this paper to Casella and they're making a ton of money on the backside. Laymen don't even have the idea that it was never that system, that recycling always has less of a processing cost, which means the more material you can move from waste to recycling reduces your operating cost. But you're never going to see, or unless you do the sorting yourself, which in the past, if I could go back in time to '96,
Yeah.
if we could have left with our two-week recycling system, which was
Paper on one and container is another. So
right.
there are some in Western Mass that are still doing that. Most of them are drop-offs,
Right.
but there are a few curbside that are doing that. And I have Shrewsbury is that way, but it's very rare that you would have a curbside program that is separated right now of paper and containers.
All right, thank you.
But
Yeah, it's called, recycling itself is a separate thing.
So, okay, thank you.
The contract, the event for the contract workshop was good. Hopefully Michael felt it was good. I know he's done other contracts. Our next meeting coming up, I think, is next week, on the 19th. So it's January 19th, and we'll be meeting up. And it's like, yes, it's open to everybody, the 75 communities and Western Mass 100 communities, but about 10 are really getting in deep and discussing, and we're going to be going through the RFP process, and that's kind of where you guys are at. And the other thing is you're looking at having a consultant. So I think
We have the consultant.
you have the consultant.
We just met last week. So that's in the works. We're depending on, obviously, his input moving forward. So an asset
Mm-hmm.
to the whole process.
What's his field?
He,
Wilson and Sampson.
let me, he is from
I think he's trying to say.
Michael,
So you just-
Go ahead, Michael.
Oh,
No, Anna and I were at one of the meetings, I don't know if he was at the other, but we laid out a timeline. He actually took a preliminary look at some of our information and thought we were on the right track. He was gonna take it and make some edits and get back to us. I just have one question for Irene. Is the meeting next week that you were referring to when they're discussing RFPs, is that in person or is there an opportunity to attend remotely or watch?
I'm sorry, I missed the other.
He's asking if there's an opportunity to attend that meeting. You were just referring to remotely.
Yeah, it's all Zoom.
Did you hear that, Michael?
Yeah, it's a Zoom meeting.
and in reference to answer your question, he is a Chief Development Officer for Weston and Sampson Engineers out of Reading, Massachusetts.
I'm familiar with him from the lab.
And his name, Michael Scipione, if I pronounce that
Oh,
right.
yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Is that all we have on that? You're good on that? All right. Agenda item number 6, review, discuss RFP draft template. I put this on here because at the last meeting, Daniel, you and Anna you had some draft templates, and I thought before it goes up to the town council, that maybe this committee would like to take a look at the templates.
I think so. It's been in the works, and predominantly Anna has been working on it diligently with the town manager.
Okay?
Okay. The status right now, I need to be kept abreast of it, but I am not fully certain. I know they've made certain strides with it.
Okay.
So that, I think that question should be proposed to Michael, the town manager, at this point.
Okay. Did he hear
So
me?
if you can hear me,
Yep.
I had worked on one of these in one of my previous communities, and I had brought that in, and Anna and I had tailored it to our needs based on some of the seminars that we had gone to for contracting as well as recycling. I know she had asked a couple questions of Irene. We put it together in a pretty good place, and we've given it to the consultant to review. I had previously had a contract in there that was done by KT Law in the other community, so we're using that as the basis. We can ultimately have that reviewed as we get closer. But our plan is to have this sent out in early February, so that we can start getting things in March, negotiate, and have somebody so that we can meet the timeline. Should we need to have anything on the ballot? So we're still working with that time frame in reference to having this complete.
All right, thank you. Hold on. Could I ask that, is there a volume on that? Could you
That's
pick-
as high as it goes.
That's as high as it'll go, okay. Go ahead, Kevin.
When do you have a scope of service for the specific RFP yet?
Mr.
Michael, did you hear it?
Yeah, no, I keep turning it off because I'm coughing. Anna developed the scope of service. We did use it. I don't know that we distributed. I can't see who's asking the question, but we could probably
It's Kevin.
share it.
I think it hasn't really changed from what was given in May, right? I think it's the curbside contract with the 64-gallon trash, the 96-gallon recycling single.
Yeah,
zero waste every other week. It is bulky, you pay on your own. Yard waste, I think, is still in play.
Is it
Or
at a point yet
reduced.
where we could review it? or
That's what I'm asking, right, that's what this agenda is. We've been hearing about all this, but I would like to see something in
Okay.
writing.
Yeah, if we could review that,
Would
even
that
as
be-
a rough draft.
Michael, just a quick question. Would that be something that we would actually want to review in executive session?
Well, we can bring it back, but
I mean, we legally can do that.
Jog my memory. I want to say that Anna said that this was the memorandum that Mr. Pelletier and Anna produced last spring that went up to the council,
Yeah.
seeking guidance so that it
Oh, okay.
was, that's just the council of scope of work for what they wanted to do for curbside. I don't know that Anna can get a CD, but.
Yeah, she's not here at the moment.
She's not here. But certainly I can obtain that,
Yeah, I
obviously,
think-
for next meeting.
I think this is
Okay, good.
actually it. I mean, it's just maintain the 64 gallon, have the 96 gallon. It does say, and I think that could be a change, but it does say keep the contract up to 6 families. That you're using the automated collection. You are still doing the school and the municipal buildings. You still have the bi-weekly collection of recycling at the town buildings and public schools. It's removing the bulky off of the contract so people pay directly. The curbside collection of leaf and yard waste would be 6 weeks in the spring and 6 weeks in the fall. The drop off is removed from the contract. The hazardous waste is removed from the yard contract. And that is, that's what was said on May of 2022.
If you review Exhibit H of the landfill extension agreement, which was the scope of service for curbside pickup, it's a little more detailed as far as, maybe some of it is boilerplate, but, if the machine malfunctions and trash falls off to the ground, it's up to the operator to.
Yeah, so we always add, and that's a big thing that we're going to talk about next week, is making sure that you have in there if pickups are not picked up, they don't pick up a street or something like that, missed pickups. If they destroy property, destroy carts, maintenance of the carts, all those other things would be added into the contract.
That would
And
be
I think he already
part of the
has that in there.
contract. We're talking about the RFP right now.
Yeah, but that's part of that. The RFP and the contract kind of go together because you want it to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, it's just, if we can review them side by side and see exactly where we're at.
Be a good
So is
idea.
there a way, I think the chair would like Michael to have the current draft, and if I could also get a copy of the current draft.
Which, are you talking about Michael the consultant or Michael the town manager?
You the town manager, administrator for to have the current draft of the RFP.
Yeah, yeah.
Scope of
I'll
service.
get together with Anna, she's the custodian.
Yeah, I talked to her before and she said she needed to get that approved by you to be able to share it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I'll connect, she's not in on days, I'm on, open at the moment, so we didn't connect the other day, I didn't come in. What was I gonna say, I heard Kevin talk about the, Exhibit H of the settlement agreement, I will pull that up, but I know that that RFP that we use, as our draft, or our basis, our template, did have language in that, anything that they drop from the vehicle is their responsibility. I've seen that language, I'm quite sure that we put that in, but I will make sure that I've sent an email to myself to look for that settlement agreement Exhibit H for detailed scope of work.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Is there any way we can legally make the carrier responsible for illegal dumping? At least picking it up?
You can have, if they're seen like that their truck is not in order, and you can do inspections of the trucks. And if things are flying out of it, or if then they have to help pay for that in some ways. I don't think something flies, you don't want them to just pull over to the side of the road and just pick it up quick.
No, they drive by now and somebody else does it for them.
Well, we're also putting in, we did it in the last community I was in, a schedule of liquidated damages for when there are issues if they don't pick up within so many, blocks of hours. They miss a route, they gotta come back, they drop something. If they don't do it within a reasonable period of time, they can be starting being fined under the contract. So we're planning to put something like that in this as well.
Gonna have to follow them around.
Almost.
Oh, you just have if people call you and say that there was a problem, you write it down and then you pass that on to things. I got a call that you did this, therefore I take off. It's in the contract per offense is this amount. Well, I will just keep on taking that off of my bill. My bill says this, and all these things come off of that. And that's how you keep them in check. And then you say, hey, look at this. This month, you kept on missing. These things kept on popping up. We got to work on this. So that's what the contract does for you. Is it makes it that it's a working relationship.
And you gotta get people to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and if you've
Good
ever
luck
waited.
with that.
Town I was in as the assistant. As the assistant in the last town, I handled all those calls and tallied those things and worked with the hauler. So usually somebody in the town manager's office or maybe in the board of health, because they might get the calls first, does the tally, and becomes the liaison with the hauler.
It's a part-time job to stay on hold waiting for Casella to answer the phone.
True.
Part-time job.
True.
Was on the phone for 2.5 hours waiting.
Yeah.
And you know what I did? I'm like, missed to fix it. I went out and fixed my own operation out there. Because I gave up on the phone call.
That's frustrating. You did, yeah.
To
Yeah.
say the least.
Or the person you talk to is the dispatcher and they're like, oh, well, let me find the truck and I'll get back to you. Well, the problem's right now. Never mind, I'll go out and pick everybody else's trash up myself.
All right. Is there any, how would you identify the difference between stuff that's caused by them flying out of their truck versus stuff that is being thrown out of somebody's passing car and just dumped on the side of the road?
There's the challenge.
Exactly.
To substantiate. I mean, one bag, if it was,
It depends on what it is.
Yeah.
it would be very hard for us legally from the Board of Health aspect. We find trash, okay?
Exactly. How do you tell?
And if it's a public way, it's pretty easy, we call it DPW. But if it's significant, then it really falls on the homeowner. Legally, it's on your property, how it got there, and unless there's total verification and some documentation or video or whatever, evidence, so to speak, it's really hard.
And to Daniel's point, that's usually the case, and in my past experience, somebody calls it in, witnesses, time, place, and you can verify with the hauler they had a truck there at that location, or with the prevalence of cell phones, somebody's snapping a photo,
Right.
and they've got the bag
Right.
and the truck in the background pulling away, so, and those are the things you email right to your liaison and the hauler and say, send it back and pick it up.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna let Kevin, you have the last word here.
Is this RFP, is this for pickup, hauling to a facility and including tipping fee, or I had shared some information, I believe, with the Board of Health about that if the town separates the trucking from the tipping fee, it gives us the ability that any improvements we make as far as waste reduction or recycling, that benefit comes directly back to the town, as opposed to including the tipping fee within the contract. Then the contractor is going to need to add a little fluff layer in there to make sure that he makes his money. So in other words, do you understand what I'm saying?
That is a great point, and it's something that I'm well aware of, and we did it in another town. And our consultant, Mr. Scipione, is going to further research this. Before he came on board, I reached out to Wheeler Brader over in Millbury. They have an area municipal contract, but it's closed. It doesn't come up for negotiation for probably another 5 or 10 years. They have a consortium of Central Mass towns for municipal solid waste. Moreover, because of all the closure of landfills, he said they're running out of capacity at their burn facilities. So Casella has their own. They have a MRF in Owen, St. Augsburg, and they have their own landfills out of state. So they said capacity is not an issue. But Mr. Scipione said that he may have some, other inroads with other folks, so that we can continue to explore that, because you are correct. If we can negotiate those two items separately, we can, generate some savings for the town.
Thank you.
We are aware of that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much. All right. We're going to move on to the next agenda item then. We have Ms. Harnois here to speak to us. Review, discuss billing options for a curbside garbage collection enterprise fund with Town Manager Michael McCall and/or Finance Director Karen Harnois. Now, the last meeting that we had, the assessor spoke to us and said that her office, she would find it very hard for her office to handle all the duties that they have now, and then adding a billing for curbside garbage collection if we go that way. So we thought we would ask you about that, what could be done about it.
Okay, so you want to talk a little bit about, could we potentially have an enterprise fund?
Right.
Okay. Well, generally, an enterprise fund like we have for the water sewer is going to be self-sustaining. So whatever revenue we bring in should cover the expenses that we have. So that's one route that we can take. I guess definitely, I guess depends which way that we go. If we go with a, and I apologize, I was in with someone in a meeting, so I didn't hear the beginning of the conversation here at the, but are you leaning more towards a pay-as-you-throw, or the town goes with the taxes and assesses that, or is that still what we're discussing?
We're still
or-
discussing all of those things.
All the different
The problem is the cost of how to split up the costs.
Yeah.
You're in a community that is very unusual than any other community, I think, in the entire country, that you don't have a current amount that is in the tax base.
Correct. Yes.
So everybody else, even if you go to Oxford that doesn't have it in the tax base, the resident is paying $500 a year for the service. So there's somebody paying a bill right now on a monthly basis. Here you don't have that. Even in Millbury, when they have the waste energy facility, the residents still have to pay, and there's a line item for the transfer station. So you're in a very unique position that you don't have anything on there. So it's really hard to say, okay, the taxes are going to now go up to pay a multi-million-dollar amount. So we're kind of trying to figure out, is there a way to do different options, if it's going to be taxes plus bags, flat fee, or flat fee plus taxes. It kind of, one thing that came up from the assessor's office was that they said they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the staff time to even look at the bills.
And I think that would be true. I think what we're gonna have to do, if the town decides that we're gonna do the billings and collections, I think we're gonna have to add staff. So that would be some additional costs.
Yeah, and that can be added into the enterprise fund. The only thing is
Well, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, is there an option to hire a private entity, a company to do the billing?
You could probably go that route, but then there'll just be the fee that the company's
The
gonna
fee,
charge.
of course, there's gonna be an
charge
associated
to
fee,
the-
whatever
to
it
the
may
town,
be.
correct.
But,
Yeah.
much different than hiring staff and building a department specifically for that.
Right.
I
mean,
An option.
An enterprise is more just a mechanism. You know, we have different options of what we could do. And we could have it all in the general fund. You know, we could have it, like you said, I don't know if we build into health or build it as a separate department in there, but we build those costs in. But an enterprise is more to be self-sustaining within the revenues and the expenses.
Which do you think would make more sense from the situation that we currently have, to do an enterprise fund or put it straight into the budget?
Enterprise fund. You put it in the taxes, and we're all low income. You just made everybody low
Absolutely
income,
we are.
and then you better
We
start
already
giving
are.
tax. You better start giving bags away.
Hold on. I'm gonna let Ms. Clements speak.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Marquetti. So, right, putting it in the bags, you know how I feel about that. Brought that up before. The bag thing, it's just in this community. I think sticking with the plan that we have, pick up, big toters, done. Flat fees to the landlords, to the homeowners, whatever, based on equitable application. Multifamilies, it's multi-levels. Single families, it's a single level. If you got one toter, you got two toters, you got five toters. There's a way, and I believe There's a presentation of that, hopefully. I was told I could hear that tonight. I've gone into the assessor's office too. You know, you've got so many households, you have so many occupied households, you know, obviously, and you have to decide, is it gonna go to 4s or 6s or stay at 3s, or, but you come up with a number. How much does it cost to do this RFP? You know, how much are we anticipating, 2 million, 4 million, whatever, per household is the price. That's it, you get a bill, whether it's quarterly or monthly. It's water and sewer situation, you can never let it get out of hand like we used to be out of hand with water and sewer. We've gotta stick to the rules, you know, what's gonna happen if somebody doesn't pay their bill, how are they not, you know, those things, there has to be a mechanism for that, for not paying. But in this community, as easy as we've made it for everybody, we still aren't perfect here at all, because we have free trash and we still have trash issues. So we gotta make people own some of their, you know, the responsibility of their trash. And the only way to do that is that they have to pay for it. If that means the landlords with 3 families have to charge a little bit extra to the people making the trash, then the people making the trash must pay. I mean, it's the only way you're gonna really get anybody to comply. So I'm hoping what I came for here tonight was to hear what kind of a plan, if you're paying quarterly or monthly, can that be done? Is what they're asking, you know, what's the best setup do you feel? It can go to the general fund, it just means that's your revenue source that pays for the line item. I mean, right, that's what you're saying. In other words, it's not an enterprise fund that you know is paying for itself that way, a separate whole enterprise fund. If it's money that comes in billing, and when you do your budget, you say, well, we're anticipating X dollars, you know, and there's the line item that's paying for it. I mean, it's ins and outs. But you're the expert.
That's right, but I think
So what's the better-
mechanism-wise, I think it would be the easiest, not that this is the best way to go, to do it through the general fund. Because then you're gonna have a contract for $2 million, say like with your hauler, and we'll be paying those bills, and they'll be providing the services, and it's gonna be in the taxes. But, you know, if you go to, and then I guess if you wanna do more of a basis of where you charge X amount, so you try to set your revenues to cover your expenses, that would be more like an enterprise fund.
Well, then that's where
Right, however, I would be concerned, what are we gonna do for enforcement? And what happens when people don't pay? Because we just wanna be careful that then the general fund doesn't end up subsidizing the enterprise fund. And then that will be tax money going into the fund to subsidize it. So we really have to be careful how we think about it, you know, and structure it.
But then, Ms. Harnett, isn't that the beginning process of how much money you then need to sufficiently cover what it is you're anticipating doing? I mean, you can't be, you know, exactly at, well, oh, this is it, this is all we need, the minimum amount. You have to build that in, you have to build in some things. And whether there is some tax ramifications on one end, a little bit of taxes to help with the public side of it, you know, the public utility, the municipal, municipal trash. Obviously, the community has to somehow cover municipal trash, right? I mean, right now, that's part of our contract, all the municipal buildings get covered and all that. How does that play out when it's, you know, you've got your private people, and you got your municipal, that's our responsibility as community taxpayers to make sure we cover and take care of our municipality, like plowing our roads and all that stuff, same thing with the municipal trash.
Right.
You know, right? So maybe there's a tax consequence, but I think, you know, the bigger bulk of it should be a pay program where everybody is responsible. Like you say, there does have to be built in some sort of mechanism that if you're not paying your bill, where do you get lien? What gets lien? Did your property get lien? Do you stop collecting the trash? And, you know, you do have to have a
Get
problem.
Anna back, great, from Anna.
I mean, I suppose what we
Position.
could do.
Hold on, one at a time, please. Go ahead,
You
Karen.
know, what we could do is if you're, what you were talking about, you know, you're right, there's gonna be, you know, town and school is gonna have trash and there's gonna be costs for that. If we decide to go the enterprise fund route, maybe what we do is we appropriate X amount of money that it's gonna cost for the town and school, we could transfer it to the enterprise fund and then do all the accounting and the payment of everything within that fund. Kinda like if you were self-insured for health insurance or something like that.
Okay.
I think one of the big questions is who. So, is there anybody in your office? Is there another, like the assessor's office said absolutely, they're doing the water and sewer, they cannot do another piece of paper.
Right, so I think we're gonna have to bring in staff, whether it's in the form of actual people or whether it is a company to help us
Do you have a
manage it.
company already that the town works with on any billing issues?
Not that I can
I think
think
we
of.
do.
I mean, we, you know, for, like, we have a deputy collector for, you know, for taxes or something like that, but they wouldn't do anything like that, I don't think.
My
I'm not sure.
understanding is there are municipalities that directly hire these type of companies to do
Mhm.
that.
Right.
And what I've heard is that it's successful.
Right.
I mean, there is a cost associated, but all the responsibility falls on that. And, you know, and then there's contingencies, like, you're right, if somebody doesn't pay, what are we doing here? And that's up to the municipality to enforce that. But, they just keep everybody abreast of.
So I think a big thing is I think that's kind of the way is we need to do that research on what those companies are, to do that kind of, the billing
Yeah.
process. And then to make sure it's in the new contract is, and I think everybody's aware of, Anna's position was also part of the landfill closure agreement. And so to have, Anna is definitely an integral part of any trash and solid waste program surviving that position be funded in a way. If that's funded through the flat fee, funded, there needs to be it on the town's budget somewhere.
So I'm gonna let Karen talk and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
go to Kevin.
No, I did want to respond to you. We actually do have a situation where the town does outsource billing, our ambulance billing.
Right.
So we have the ambulances, but yet we contract with a company who does the billing and the collections on it, and they take a percentage of the collections. And it's competitive too, because we go out for like quotes, or I don't know if it's an RFP or what exactly it is, and they bid the percentage that they're gonna take of that revenue. I know it wouldn't be the same, but yes, it runs well. And then we send the, anything that's past due, we have a collection agency.
All right, Kevin?
Ms. Harnois, the water and sewer bills that go out quarterly, I'm assuming that every property that has water and sewer also receives, or if they're within the curbside contract, receives curbside pickup. If we were to just put a fee per unit, whether it be a single family, a two-family, we get charged for 2 units. If we just use a flat fee on the water and sewer, which are also enterprise funds, would that make it simpler as far as getting the information to the people that you now owe this amount for trash, or am I oversimplifying?
So basically, are you saying like when the water and sewer bills go out, then there would be a trash fee
Yeah.
that goes on there as well?
Yeah.
Well,
Other municipalities do that.
well, you know what, that's an interesting thought too. I don't know, so Rachel didn't really comment on that?
She was just very,
Couldn't do it.
very
And
overwhelmed.
Yes, no, and I
And
can.
maybe that could be a helpful solution. I don't know. It could-
Well, I think that's something
The
that we
outsourcing.
should talk about and
Okay.
explore a little bit there too.
And
But obviously, we have to come up with the structure.
Yeah.
Right. And you also have to take into account that the fact that there are
Hold on,
some people.
let Kevin finish first.
My one other point, I'm glad to see that we can open that up into further discussion.
Okay.
But one of the importance of the enterprise fund is if we started collecting for the enterprise fund in June, and we collected, let's say, $10 million by the end of the year, I'm being facetious, and it only cost us $2 million to pick up the trash. Because it's an enterprise fund, that money doesn't just go back into the general fund or into a slush fund. It's there for the next 4 years of pickup.
That's correct.
The point I'm making is if we keep our initial fee as low as possible, and over the course of our first year, we stay within that budget, there's no increase the following year. Just like with water and sewer. If we operate our water and sewer system with no increase, there is no increase. And the enterprise fund, it seems to make it a situation where we're never putting our money into somebody, into the town hall without knowing it's going specifically for our trash. Just like when we give our money to the water and sewer company, it's going specifically for our water and sewer. I think that's one of the major advantages of the enterprise fund. It gives us the flexibility of, if we underestimate the first year, well, we may have to increase it. But if we overestimate, or we start collecting earlier before our cost even is incurred, in other words, if we could start collecting this with the water and sewer bills in June, that would give us 6 months, actually about 8 or 9 months before the system even starts and our costs start. I think that's just a critical, if we have the availability and time between now and June to do it, I think we should really try to achieve a flat fee and start the initial collection even before we're paying the art pay.
Okay.
24 hours a day.
Go ahead, Counselor.
The question I was gonna ask is, I kind of think the idea is a good one there. One question is, how do we work with the water and sewer system? How do we currently work when you do not have one or the other? Because there are some people, and going and tying that into the trash system, there are some people obviously that, obviously the way we want to do it is all of them will have trash, but some of them don't currently get water or sewer, like my house has neither.
It would add approximately 2,000 customers to the current customer database. Right now, there's about 4,800 customers. You gotta take Charlton out of that for water. But, like my house doesn't have water or sewer, so I would become a new customer within the database of, you'd have to stop calling it a water sewer bill and more of a utility bill. But my bill would only come in with just waste on it. But that would be a little bit of a lift for the assessor's office. But my thought is, I'm sorry, I'm cutting into you talk here, but you could use an enterprise fund to then fund that individual that you add to the assessor's office. And then because we know that they're overwhelmed, it's a full-time job, but once it's established, it really won't be a 40-hour week, 52-week-a-year job. That person can also work with doing assessing duties. So it'll be a double, the person will have double duties, much like Francine handles water, sewer, and assessing. So I think that could be a huge asset to help get that office to a point where it needs to be for staffing. So this might be a good opportunity to fund or partially fund a new employee that would be doing trash billing and assessing. And it's easy to do that with an enterprise fund, because you can allocate those funds a certain percent to this person, a certain percent to that person, a certain percent to the assessor herself, to Anna, to whatever. It's really easy to manage those funds.
Okay.
One thing to be aware of is your contract is in March, so that the enterprise fund actually makes it, having it start up now would be better, so that you have that catch-up time.
Money.
Yeah, because what does happen is you get some money up front. Like I could see March, no matter what program is, a big chunk of the money comes in the beginning, and then if it's a general fund, June 30th comes and you have to close the books, and boom, you'll lose that money.
And I also don't like the commingle money like you were saying. This money could drift into the general fund at the end of the year and turn into free cash and be gone. I like to keep
And it makes
trash
it
money for
very
trash. Great.
But
accountable.
A lot of accountability to an enterprise
It's a
fund.
better selling point to the citizens,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
I will say this though, everybody knows we have free garbage pickup until 2024, so
Mhm.
you're gonna start billing them now. And maybe some people aren't gonna be too happy like that.
Well, you gotta be prepared.
You know what, Mike?
They get 6 months at the end free.
I think if they realize that we're billing them
Yeah, all right, well,
to
we'll see
keep
what,
their pipe,
we'll see what the survey says.
we'll see.
So Karen, you good?
I think so, unless there's any other questions.
So I know it normally goes through the town council or something to start the enterprise fund, but I know in other communities you have a specific date that it has to be done. I don't know if that has to go through your office to like get that ball rolling to at least establish the
Well, I think that
enterprise
was the
fund.
question, is who has to create the enterprise fund? We weren't sure of that before, right? Is it the town manager? Is it the town council? Who has to vote to establish the,
I believe it would be the town council.
Okay.
So, between my office and the town manager's office, I think we're the ones that would probably bring it forward. I don't know if we have to, whatever, if we have to go to another subcommittee besides this one, we'll go through the process and then at least get it established.
So that would keep it out of the budget, that would keep it out of taxes,
Keep it
going
out of
that way,
taxes.
number one. Number two, it would give Dan an opportunity to succeed and not fail. he would be, for the first time in a long time, be able to enforce trash to a landowner. Right now, he chases around tenants like they're, a floating pizza box and trying to catch, trying
Good analogy.
to find out who belongs to the trash, and the tenant says it's not mine, the landlord says it's not theirs, he can't do his job. Right now, that gives you the ability to put a lien on somebody's property. You don't pay the trash, you don't pay the water, they shut you off. I mean,
And you can't have tenants without
So
water.
Karen, if we did an enterprise fund, then it wouldn't have to go on the ballot, or it would still have to go on the ballot?
No, you never.
Because the chairman of the council is telling me we have to have something ready to go on the ballot in June. But if we're gonna go with an enterprise fund, does that mean it wouldn't have to go on the ballot? Or is that something that you,
Well, an enterprise fund would be charges fee-based,
Mhm.
so it would not go through the tax levy.
okay.
So that's a different option
Right.
than it going on the ballot. So I think
That's
that's what the
much more
committee would have to recommend, what's the best option.
Okay. Go ahead, Michael.
The ballot deadline is if we were going to pursue a straight override for
Right.
the entire amount of
Yeah,
Right.
2.5 plus 7% on your assessed value of your home. So you'd be looking at like another 10 by the time it's all said and done, like normal.
Yeah.
Just
Go
because this is 2.5.
Counselor Steves?
How much, I know it's tied all together, but how much does the town, how much service does the town actually pay for? I know it's all, I'm trying to understand how, I'm not expressing it well. If it were actually paying for trash service, how much would the town's own service actually cost?
Yeah, so I think I have that data.
Oh, you mean just, okay, for the town and the
The
school?
town buildings, the schools,
So that would have to come out of tax.
that would have to come out of tax. In some way or other, yeah.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that as if I got that list.
But that would
we
be
can
similar
kinda
to
play with-
paying water bills at any town building,
Yeah.
it'd be very similar to that.
Right.
You just have to budget for it.
Right, that, I haven't looked at it. Did you say that?
No, I didn't have that one. I think he was talking about. No, and it's also in your contract. I have some communities that have very interesting contracts where it just says this is the cost per household.
Yeah.
And, or this is the trash collection cost, this is the disposal cost, and I will include the municipal buildings and schools in that number. So sometimes you don't actually see it broken down, and then there's just a thing on the last page is an attachment that just says this is our municipal buildings. We're having, we have this bin for trash and recycling. It's being picked up weekly, every other week. And this is being picked up 3 times a week at the schools. We're having a special event. I need a couple dumpsters for these special events. And so it's kind of laid out, but there's sometimes not always an official cost for that. But we could try to move some numbers around to say allocate, but what the cost would be.
Yeah, because I think we kind of need to know that. So we
Anna
can-
has a
so we
list
can
of
put it
all-
in the budget.
Anna has a list of all our
Dumpsters.
dumpsters in town.
Okay.
I thought there was a value somewhere in the discussions over all the years when we were looking at, what the town worth, how much money us getting free pickup from Casella, when we had some Casella meetings.
Yeah,
I
Casella
swear there was a
Media list
broken
number,
out
yeah.
number
I
to
can,
with the value of the municipal
I
side.
can give you a history number. Florence Chandler in 1996 said that
1996.
operating the landfill and picking up trash was costing the town $1 million a year. That was in 1996 when she did the contract with Wood Recycling. She said, we're going from costing the town $1 million a year to making $1 million a year. Don't we wish we did something better with that $1 million a year?
Okay.
Real
Karen?
But you didn't pay a bill for some of this that time, so really you did make that
Yeah, we
plus
didn't
that
really
you haven't paid.
No, we didn't. We filled the dump in half the time.
Because too many people took to heart, you can have as much trash as you
Yeah.
want in Southbridge.
Yeah.
And other people brought their trash here too. And that's a shame. That's a sin.
You
It's time for us to be
don't
accountable.
you don't get 405,000 tons without somebody else bringing trash to our town.
Hold on now, I'm gonna let Karen.
It's neither here
I'm
nor
gonna let
there.
Karen.
I also want to bring up,
Oh, I think it's
Michael's
coming.
gonna say something.
basic calculators. And the 1 million from 1996 is now just under 1.9 million, which is what Mr. Pelletier and Anna estimated their contract might be, so it's probably not too far off.
No, but what I was asking, Michael, is just specifically the municipal buildings. How much of the cost would actually be that?
Made that comment about the $1 million
Yeah.
cost. That wasn't, I don't think that was just the municipal building.
No, I don't either.
No,
Okay.
no, we're
I'm
talking
sure
about
we can
operating
come up
costs.
with a rough estimate about the, how much we generate.
Right, because we're gonna need that for the budgeting.
And that's the RFP.
Yeah.
So if we don't have that number, all this other numbers is just numbers we're kind of thinking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Karen finish
Yeah,
this up.
Karen got cut off.
I'm gonna let Karen finish this up, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess one thing, or just a last comment just to think about. I don't know if there would be any benefit at all. So the town, the taxpayers are gonna have to pay for the pickup at municipal sites and the school anyway. So does it make sense to try to separate it out? Or does it, is there any benefit to separating it out, appropriating the money that way? Or to say, okay, it's gonna cost us $3 million, and that includes all the taxpayers, every residence, plus
Cleaner.
Leave it.
all the municipal sites.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner.
It's a lot.
I just don't know if there's an advantage one way or the other.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
just
that.
kinda wanted to put that out there, I don't know.
That's just all in the RFP language.
So the
Right, I don't know
question I
whether,
have though, and this has been put to me by other residents, is if we did that, then someone who doesn't get town garbage pickup, and so now they don't have to pay taxes anymore, so they're not gonna be paying into this at all, correct? So let's say, for
That's
instance,
not what she was saying.
just
That's not
example,
what you're saying.
you mean if
just as
someone
an
was a
example,
private
someone
hauler?
like a private company, a
Okay,
business in town, they don't get garbage pickup. They've been paying for garbage pickup through their, well, they will be if we went through the taxes. If
right.
they don't go through the taxes and they don't get garbage pickup, they don't have to pay anymore, correct? Now it's all on the residents. Or the house, the users.
So they don't help pay for the municipal buildings, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think that's true, yes.
Well,
And
if so, if you
there needs to be some slight tax increase to cover something.
Yeah.
Maybe not a big override situation, but a percent or two, so we're saying, okay, that's, or whatever, just that.
It never is though, that's the problem. Like everybody's house is assessed right to the tilt, right within $3,000 of your total value of your home, you're assessed to.
Yeah.
I mean, they raised my value of my house because I painted my door orange, $30,000. I'm fairly certain that that's what where the cost increase was. But then they raised the taxes and assessed me high. So what was the actual number? It's, it was 2.5% increase was the max they could go. But then they assessed me another $30,000 on my house. So what is the actual percent? What did it come out to? 7?
Sure.
And then you do this again, the assessed rate is gonna go up because my neighbor sold their house they had a bidding war. Now I'm sitting in town paying I'm paying the piper.
That was the argument
Right.
we made when we were talking about the tax.
And I mean, if you do that, if you say, we're doing enterprise fund and it's townwide trash and everybody gets a bill, then everybody's on it. Whether you want it or you don't, because otherwise, we're doing this for nothing because I use 1 bag a week, so I'm gonna call up whoever and say, all right, come get my toter once a week and I'm gonna pay my own. Now everybody's gonna go doing their own thing.
All right.
Whether it's in the taxes or it's not, it's townwide trash.
Well,
You're getting a bill for trash whether you use it or you don't. We're doing townwide trash.
But you have to find out then how the businesses pay, the ones that
I was gonna
aren't,
ask that.
that's the crux then of what you're saying.
But we don't even have the businesses in the
No,
list
we're
we
not.
had. All we had is single-family
Single and
homes
multi.
and multifamilies.
Mhm.
That's what we had in there because that's what we assume we're covering. So a business or a property beyond a 6-family would be, you're responsible for your own trash. That wouldn't be a part of it.
But then how does the municipal buildings get paid?
Well, they certainly can get paid
get
through
picked up.
that. We haven't talked about a transfer station.
No, we're talking about the dumpsters for town hall.
No,
for
no,
the
I
schools.
get
So
that.
Where do you-
so
where do you
then
put
you're
that
saying you
fund?
just wanna pay for all that municipal trash and not let the businesses have to pay?
Well, I mean, the businesses aren't paying though, and if you tax them, that if everybody has to pay tax, then we're getting double dipped, and a business is not, right? Business is paying one tax rate, we're paying taxes and a fee. We're paying twice.
Well, they're paying a fee too, because but they're paying.
They're paying in taxes only. If we put that in the
They're
taxes,
not paying to us.
if we put it in the taxes to cover it, the business pays the tax, they're in the clear. We pay a tax and we pay a
I
fee.
think that's kind of on the next agenda item then,
Okay.
that's 8, we're on 7 still. so.
Kevin, do you have something new to add to this, or?
No, I'll leave it.
All right. Okay, thank you, Karen. Thank you very much. It was very insightful. We'll go to agenda item number 8, review, discuss funding with Irene Condon. Go ahead. you have the
Yeah,
floor.
so I don't wanna, I know, I was trying to have this discussion without any permanent numbers is very hard, and I don't wanna get people excited about a number when I don't have the real numbers without an RFP. But I wanted to like bring up the discussion. I know everybody in this room is in support of some type of flat fee, but I wanna bring up the pay-as-you-throw numbers because I can work with those. Those I have things with, and I wanna just share my counterpart. I just have this nice little chart here just to kind of show is we're utilizing the carts the way they are. It's just you instead of buying your own kitchen bag or trash bag that you get, you'd still buy either a small bag or a large bag. Pick a color, a green bag, and everybody would have the town bag. It's just you're putting it into your container. If you did that, you would drop 30% of your trash disposal. And that pretty much happens, believe it or not, within a month, even almost less. Everybody just does a big jump. I've had communities go 50% reduction, but looking at your number, I did it a few different ways, and this is pretty much your tonnage amount would go from pretty much 4,962 tons. That's what you do right now. Would go down to 3,471. That is pretty much very likely that would be the jump if you guys went to bags. You would save that amount of trash. For recyclables, it always goes to like, oh, we'll have a big jump. You know, if people drop their trash, that means they're increasing their recyclables. You've had a cart. You have a big cart. You have a 96-gallon cart out there. You already are doing, the number is 400, I have it here, 424 pounds of recyclables per household. The likelihood of you having a big jump of added recyclables is almost nothing. So I was going like Worcester's thing, they are only at 397 pounds. West Boylston's at 450 pounds. North Brookfield is at 400. Northborough is at 460 pounds. I said if you went up to 500 pounds, no, I did it that you'd be at 460. The likelihood is you'd be at 460 pounds per household. So this could be a jump of what you do. Sometimes when we look at how it's being paid for, you're reducing your household trash by. I just had it. So it's a nice jump that you'll have. You're doing the same amount of households, the same amount of programs, but it's just how is it then funded? The program I've seen with different communities, so different communities that have a curbside program, their range right now, these are new contracts in the past 3 years, are kind of, I don't want to put a full number on there, but it's in between, 220 and 270, and that is including all the collection and the disposal and the processing of recycling processing. Like that is when you have a town contract and you have an established program. So I can't get that for Oxford because they don't have an existing program. You guys have the carts on the road. A person's just going to come in and take everything. You already know your tonnage amounts. You're really, we were looking at numbers. You kind of go like 10 tons difference every year because people kind of put out the same stuff.
We're still talking about selling bags to put in our totes.
Yes.
What
Yes.
she's talking about.
Yes.
what you're talking about.
So that's what I'm just wanting to show you that would be a jump. Like the pizza pie this is the size it is. You are constantly around 5,000 tons. If you can stay that, it doesn't matter how you pay for it. If you pay for it as a flat fee, you pay for it in the taxes, you pay what you have a 64-gallon cart, it's going to be 5,000 tons the town is going to throw out somewhere. If you went to a bag program, a green bag program, that pie shrinks to 3,400 tons that the town would dispose of as trash.
But we're also putting an initial cost on the homeowner to purchase the bag.
It could be either way. I'm just talking just numbers. I just want to say that on the scale of the town, the pie of what will leave the town is when we talk about your green community. We're talking about climate change. Right now, your pie for the town for solid waste is 5,000 tons a year. This program would bring you down to 3,400 pounds per year.
Where are those?
Yeah, where's it coming?
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's
in the
it.
community, it's going on the side of the road,
And surprisingly,
in the river.
so you've been to Worcester, you've been to other places. They do have some illegal dumping, but it is not to the grand stand of that. It is unbelievable when you first go that people do change their mindset. We have now changes, and you see it on the side, is mattresses are no longer going to do it. You're going to have a reduction. It's going to be even more than that. I didn't even think of adding your bulky waste on there. But your bulky waste is going to switch from your cost of 5,000. It's actually going to be greater because you are paying that 5,000 is your bulky waste. So now we are now no longer disposing of mattresses to trash. We're having it recycled. So that now switches over. That's 70 pounds every mattress, or 100 pounds depending on how big your mattress is. But your bulky is going to go off your contract, so you're going to save even money off of that. I didn't even think of that one. The people change their mindset the second they buy a bag. It is unbelievable. I've had communities do it as cheap as 25 cents in Barry. It was 25 cents just to get people started. And then I've had others, $1, $1.50, $2. The second we were talking about how do you have ownership of your trash, that is the second you open your trash. So I've had people that says, I don't care about recycling, I don't believe in it, I don't want to do anything, I'm an economist, and I'm just going to buy one bag a week. And they just love the game of they buy a roll, and they're going to keep that roll for 3 months. And they're going to work hard to do that. They're not disposing of it illegally. That I have 155 communities that have this type of program. We ask them all the time, do you have illegal dumping? No. If I have a bulky item issue that people are disposing of being illegal, I have that. But we discuss that of keeping people aware of where to take stuff appropriately and who to call. Composting is coming up more and more. Our food things are changing. I bet you our food's going to change dramatically. I don't know if you've seen all the commercials now. Instead of you buying your own food, instead of you cooking your own food, people are getting food delivered.
More packaging.
Yeah, but it's changing our mindset. People's trash is changing bits and bits. Like we have more and more containers instead of.
As somebody who spent quite a bit of time in Board of Health meetings, 6,300 households are composting. If you compost properly, it reduces your waste tonnage. If you compost incorrectly, it's a health hazard for not only you, your neighborhood, vermin.
I understand.
It gets complicated.
Yep, and there are more businesses, and I bet you
Pros
even.
and cons, absolutely, I agree.
And surprisingly, I'm sure you are already aware, the supermarkets here are already composting. They have companies that come and pick them up. There are different businesses that are already here picking up. So if somebody is having a big party, they can easily call and just say, hey, I want to have a pickup. So there are things that.
In Southbridge?
Yeah.
What companies are those?
You have Black Earth, and City Compost, and I think there's another one out of Springfield that comes and services this area.
And we have yet to enforce our mandatory recycling on not only our residents, but our private contractors. And now, on top of the mandatory recycling, I think we need to be looking at the idea of making trash a mandatory requirement of a resident of Southbridge. I don't see you giving a resident an option or making it easy to opt out. Because if they opt out, are they going to a private contractor, which the health department would have to confirm, okay, you're no longer on the curbside system, so now we have to confirm that you have a contractor like you do with multifamily homes.
So what communities do to combat do right away is, yes, the second you go from it's not tax based, your free program, to a flat fee by law, a resident can opt out. No matter what, they can always opt out. But you give them a piece of paper that says, yes, you're opting out. I need to know that you have an illegal place to go, because a lot of people kind of think
we have to collect the toter, because we have to make sure,
and that you have a licensed company that is picking up, because some people get creative in that they talk to their employer, or sometimes they don't talk to their employer and they bring their trash to work. It is illegal to have an illegal transfer station that is not permitted to take outside. So if somebody has a construction business and they have a dumpster, that cannot be a household trash transfer station. So that makes it a big issue of that you want to make sure people do have a legal document like that. So we should have that piece of paper to say, in any of the programs, to have that available.
All right, before we go, hold on. I want to let Mr. Pulowski talk first.
Well, since I raised there's another question I never thought. We have small businesses in this town that put a small percentage of trash out of a household. For example, I'm thinking of like a few of the smaller churches. Some I'd like you folks to consider is to figure out a way where where a small business can possibly get their waste picked up if it's under a certain amount of
They can
weight.
opt in.
Opt in, right, exactly.
On a
And
small
also,
scale.
I just want more clarification for my own knowledge. Those numbers you were giving, what was the number of pounds average per household from one end to the other? I want to memorize these numbers.
So what a household produces, So the pound, did I put the pounds on households? So currently you're at 1,575, 1,500 pounds per household. Because you have a 64-gallon cart and you don't have overflow and you don't have things.
I believe it's better than the state average, right?
The state average for a non-pay-as-you-throw program is 1,700 pounds. So that you're better than that. If you were like no thing, I have Westboro. It's bring as much trash as you want. So there are 2,400 pounds per household when you have no limit. So having the 96-gallon is at least,
Do they have recycling
64-gallon is at least a limit.
Do they have a good recycling program in Westboro?
Yes. But they're
I don't
not
want to think I'm
incentivized. They have a big
questioning-
dumpster. Just throw it all in.
I don't want to think I'm questioning your statistics, but a few people kind of looked a little surprised. I was a little startled myself. Yes, people might cut down on the amount of trash they buy, and they may make some decisions. They may cut their trash by maybe 10%. But my thinking is that's going to show up in improper. People put things that don't belong in the recycling bin, and then that becomes more expensive for whoever's handling the recycling. And I'm wondering if you have the number, what percentage of our recycling is it recycled? Is it a third? Is it back in the trash?
Anna did a lot of work on that, and the state, we gave you guys a contract for the IQ kit. So she had different people going out and doing education and just keeping people aware of, oh yeah, this is not recyclable. There were audits at Auburn to know what could be done there. So that was very in-depth. I was there when we did a cable show of that, and you guys did really good. So I think it was like down to like 10%, if it didn't even get less than that. But you have to keep on people, and I mean, because of COVID we haven't done so much, but it's just the ongoing education And we have recyclesmartma.org that we have over 700 items listed that you can kind of say, but what about this? Is this recyclable? Can I put this in my bin? And we'll tell you yes or no. I mean, it has the basic pictures there, and we have it in different languages that, hey, this can and this cannot be recycled, but over 700 items are in there, which really helps to keep things clean. But I do want to get to the point of, like, this graph, I know a lot of people go, that kind of doesn't make sense, is you're going to drop this much, but this did not come on over here. Why didn't it go up that much? Well, you can note that our stuff is actually, our recyclables are actually getting lighter and lighter also. So a lot of people I know this year for January have decided to, instead of having a detergent bottle, they're going with like the sheets of paper and putting them in. So guess what? Our recyclables keep on getting lightweighted. So our existing stuff, so volume wise, like I'm a family of 7, we put out 3 bins there, but 2 of them are full recycling bins, and then the 35-gallon trash bin. You know, that's what I put out today. And you think of things a little different. So I think with COVID, a lot of people started using reusable cups more, reusable silverware. We were home. We're not just going to throw out all of our stuff all the time.
I don't know, I went to work.
Where,
I do have a list, and I could show it, and we can put it on the website of where things go, because it is dramatic. Like, we have 155 communities that we have seen this drop 30 to 50% that they've dropped in their trash disposal the second they went to some type of bag program. It's just amazing how it's very.
Is our municipal solid waste at approximate 1,500 pounds? Do we track, like, I think the national average is 10 to 15% is what used to be picked up by the pig farmer, or is it the food waste?
food waste?
Yeah, we do, and
many pig
what
farmers
year
we
did
got
it?
in
I think it's
Southbridge?
this year. Every 3 years, we do
I don't
a
think so
full
anymore.
waste
How many cornfields we
characterization.
got left?
Go ahead.
It's still kind of, it's our biggest item. For Massachusetts, we do waste characterization, so everything here kind of goes to Wheelabrator, or has, and, well, you had your the landfill, but it's, we kind of do what's the waste characterization studies over about 70 categories we put them in. And it keeps on saying organics, and organics can also be your paper towels and your napkins and things like that, things that can be composted.
Right. I have one thing.
Before you talk, Ms. Clemens had her hand up, so I'm gonna go to her.
I
That'll
know,
come to
now
you.
I'm trying to remember exactly what I was saying. It was like, oh, you said something and it triggered, but,
I'll come back to you.
I mean, I guess in the back of my mind, demographics, you know, our community, we have language barriers in our community,
Yep.
unfortunately. It's hard just for let's take the education department. It's hard to get the parents on board with the education side of things and you know, understanding, and we have a very diverse community.
I mean, so is the city of Worcester, you know, I
As
mean.
just Worcester, right?
Yeah, and we have a whole bunch of other cities that all over Massachusetts, that 155 of them, that are all doing types of programs like this that work dramatically. It actually makes it kind of easier. So it's like, instead of buying, you know, people have to buy bags wherever they buy kitchen items, you know, you buy
Right.
milk.
Yeah, and you mentioned the mattress situation, the mentioned cardboard too, and I'm wondering if it's not going to China anymore because we're having issues, what's happening now. But the mattress situation, I mean, that dramatically changed here, unfortunately.
Everywhere.
I don't know if anybody has noticed all the mattresses laying all over the place.
On
the
So
street.
we have a lot of mattress stuff.
Please take a picture of that. We need that. We
It's
have
not good.
we have on state. There's state legislation that it was supposed to be like Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Maine, that and Vermont all have it that you pay when you buy a mattress.
But yeah, right.
At $7, and boom,
Boom,
it
would
goes
be
right.
much easier.
So Massachusetts has had that bill for 10 years, and we've been waiting for it. So please take a picture and keep on handing it to your representative to say,
Yeah, do something about it. So
Right.
the other, that just hit me, I don't know why, but you said you cannot opt out. I'm confused.
no, you can opt out. If any
No, I
type.
mean, right, you can opt out, right. And why is that legal when, if a community has, say, a bylaw, or you know, if they make a law for their community that says this, in your community, every household we have a utility fee, just like, I mean, there are people who don't pay, they have a well, but they still have a water connection, or how does that work? There's a fee, no, if you don't use your water, you're still paying a fee because
It's a hookup.
you have
The
a
base
hookup.
charge,
Yeah,
base
no,
charge.
sorry, yeah, I knew there's an analogy.
I understand that too.
So why is it, this can't be the same thing? If a legal body, if the legislative body votes, puts a bylaw in place or something that says from
There's
this
this
point on.
Massachusetts state
Really?
court
Yeah.
case that has said any flat fee that is a separate bill can be opt-out, no
Wow.
matter what in Massachusetts.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is a court case, we cannot, so you
But
just
you
have
can
it, the
put
piece of paper to
rules.
make sure that people
Right.
are doing it legal,
Right.
that there's no buddying up, because that also is a theft of service.
That you're not working
And
away
you
to the next
cannot have
episode of
an
Boys.
illegal transfer station.
So the onus though is on them to prove that they have it, otherwise they get billed until they have,
Right.
the town has proof in hand.
Make it
So that, okay. Well,
And
that's
And guess
easy.
what? It's double the price, triple the price if they go someplace else.
So
I'm
what,
gonna go with Mark here.
so what your new task would be is to continue to take pictures and write letters to state legislation while we wait and look at mattresses. Are we gonna sit there and count the number of mattresses, or are we gonna figure out another path? Another thing I can tell you about the bags that you don't know about because you haven't lived here is we went from black trash bags to clear. I would love to take you for a ride around town tomorrow and we can count the black trash bags together because you'd be overwhelmed. We couldn't even change a color of trash bags and enforce it. And now you want somebody to pay for a trash bag. You know where they're going? They're going up by the school where the solar farm is because they took the gate down. That'll be the old dump, will be the new dump. I'm not even joking. It's gonna get out of control. And they're not lying. There's mattresses all over this town right now. And the best answer we got is take a picture and
No,
send
we
it to
have-
your state
we have
legislator.
Companies to pay.
Well, yeah, we're gonna
That
pay.
new law,
We have
we have seen such an influx because of that, because of the costs associated
Yeah.
with the disposal.
And what's gonna happen? We're
And
gonna,
You're absolutely, left and right, it's a constant battle every day.
We're
We
gonna
talk about-
pay.
And I concur with Mark.
We're gonna
If
pay.
it goes this direction, there's gonna be, we're just gonna be chasing our tail in Board of Health all
Yeah.
day long, which we're getting to that point with just mattresses. They just pop up left and right. I've gone by residences and I looked and it's clear, and then the next day I get notice that there's mattresses.
So now the
And
question
I-
is it coming from that resident or is it coming from
Well,
someplace
there's
else?
but they are either on the sidewalk, public way, or.
So that there are two
you know,
different things. You're,
inside the
you're
house.
on a border state that somebody said, and we did have that in another community, is I definitely recommend if you have the illegal dumping areas to have the cameras to catch people
That
because
would
there
be-
has
that
been
would
a
be-
few
that
people
would
that
be
have said
I
we're collecting it.
Wherever they're coming from, they are there.
Would-
And
So it could be a private company that's trying to make money if you have more than 3 mattresses in a
The
spot.
problem
No, I don't
is,
think
it's-
that's what's going on.
it's, no, it's still the, either way you do it, it is still the same problem. We're gonna pay to deal with it.
With all due respect.
Hold on,
to
Kevin, I'm
what-
gonna let Council Steves go first.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking just, I wanted to ask you, Irene, so if we see this kind of a 30 to 50% tonnage drop with pay-as-you-throw.
And I think it's really going to be the 30. It's not going to be more than that because of where you are right now.
Okay, my question is that, how does that actually affect the financing? If we are setting it up for, that we're going to need X to fund the system as a whole, so that we do it, and then it comes in at 30%, that the receipts come in 30% below what we're expecting, that means how much?
Yeah,
is
you
that
have
going
to be conservative of what the price is, yes.
When you end up doing that, how many communities that you've worked with that did this ended up having to put money on their taxes?
So the only one that I've ever done that, because we try to be conservative on that point, has been Northborough. And so then they just did their plan has always been, it was taxes and bags.
Yeah.
So it just was, the goal was that disposal cost, whatever the disposal cost pays for the bags. And so that price was, but then they had a 50%, and they estimate, I told them 30 to 50, and they said, oh, it's going to be 20. They wanted to be conservative that way, but then they were short on their revenue. So then now we're being conservative to get down to 50. So then they saw that.
So if we were gonna do.
And so I just changed the mechanism of,
Okay, other way around, okay.
yeah.
So if we were gonna do, let's say, if you're accepting, you're assuming that we'll do 30%, and if we wanted to be conservative on the funding and aim high for 50%.
Yeah.
What kind of bag fees would that essentially cost?
Well, it just
a
depends. You're not
facility
going
of
to
our
be,
size?
you don't want to go over $2. So I think in a political thing is we weren't doing that. Like I was looking at $1.50
Per bag.
or $1 for a small bag, or $2 for a big bag and $1 for the small bag, so in that kind of range.
What do you do with low income?
So
What do you do with the seniors who are on fixed income?
and for coffee is that. So my mom, people spend money on different items. My mom has diaper things, so we spend so much on hygiene things. You can spend $1, $2. It goes for the week for the cost of the bags. So it does fit in. Most people, you don't want to go over what a cup of coffee is. We have that problem in Shrewsbury that people are spending more than a cup of coffee, so then it's not as valued.
People are going to give up a cup of coffee for a bag. There is going to be some angriness in this town on top of whatever else is going on because it is crazy right now. $1.50 a bag. I'm going to buy a roll.
I don't buy coffee.
My goodness, you better start.
I make my own.
Good.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, I just want to put this in there as things when we have more numbers than we can fit in. And I think the biggest thing is how the billing can work. If you can have an outside billing service, I think that would be so important for the counselors to look at it, because I think the assessor's office has already said that they're strapped. If that maybe can be a supplement that they can have an extra person, plus maybe help with the billing service. Maybe that can be like a
Have you worked on a number of what it's gonna cost per household, per quarter?
for doing the whole cost to do the building. And it just depends. It depends on what your operation is. So some others, literally, like you said, it's this is the electric bill, and then this is the trash bill.
$460. So was it my water and
And
sewer
then
bill
they
the
do-
last quarter?
So how do you charge somebody then for a base rate for water if they don't have it? But we do that, right?
No.
So
They
you're
have
telling me?
hookup costs.
No, they don't have water.
You don't have a
No, they just get a set. He talked about that before.
They don't have-
You get an extra.
If your house is connected
your
to
house
the
is
water
connected.
system, whether you use it or not, you pay the base charge.
Well,
Which is very similar to what we're talking about here.
correct. So technically, it's illegal. According to what you're saying, it's illegal. You can't do that. So I'm gonna
It's
start
different-
calling
it's
some
different
people.
No, then
because
they
I
just get a piece of paper that say
It's
opt
different
out, then
because
you
you're
just take
connected
that
to the water
address.
system physically.
So if they send you a piece of paper that said opt out, they wouldn't have to pay you.
They would have to cut their water line off at the street. They dig it up and
Yeah,
cut
to
out.
turn the meter and all that, yep.
Are you all set, Counselor?
For the moment.
Kevin?
Can I just say one thing? I did just send Council Marquetti and Council Steve something I emailed to Mr. Pelletier and Councilor Adams about a year ago on Northborough. One of their documents about how much they were only generating approximately 50% of the revenue for overall expenses, and it talks about that how they have to put in the general fund.
Right, and because that's the way it's made up. I do have some town treasurers right now that feel like the bag's supposed to pay the whole program. I have that in Maynard too, and that's not how the program's set up. To make sustainability, and we kind of talked about that before, is the fixed cost, the guy going down the road, you got to pay that no matter how many bags you pick up. If you have, I have in Lunenburg, they're very good. They literally only put out kitchen bag size each week. It is just amazing. The same demographics, same population. It is same as my town, and where they're half the amount of trash because my town is free trash. So it's unbelievable the difference. It's unbelievable. Same demographics, same economics, same amount of households, and they're half the difference. And it's because of the psychology of paying, and they pay $2.25 a bag. But he just said something, and when I brought that up.
He was talking about Northborough not being able to make.
Yeah, so the whole thing is that those costs of going down the road need to be covered by either the flat fee or by the taxes.
Right.
And then you have the variable costs, the bag costs covered by the sticker. You can't make the bag be the whole program. If you, and that's what Northborough, like the town manager's like, oh, we're in the hole. We're not in the hole. That is half the cost of the program. You're supposed to be covering that. You don't want the whole thing on the bag because then it gets out to $5 a bag. And then
What's the gimmick behind it? Is there startup money? Is there grant money that's
Yes.
behind this?
I will
For the
to start off.
pay as you throw, the startup money, right? A grant?
Yes. About $130,000.
130. And then when it's done, we're left holding the bag. So everybody
Literally.
remember
I know,
that.
you
Literally.
Everybody remember that at the table, that we're the one left holding the bag. Just like every other deal,
No.
we're the ones. We take the money, and next thing you know, we're the ones that are going to be stuck with it.
You have to understand how the bag program works is that it is a bill. So instead of you doing the billing system through the having the person there, having the bill go out, making sure they paid, the bag is that billing system. So it is not just collect like you do now. A hefty bag is something that you just pick and put stuff in. It actually does the pickup, but it also does the service
Right.
of picking it up. So you get revenue when somebody pays the $1.50 or the $1 for a small bag or $2. You would have revenue of $700,000
But
or
the
$800,000
only-
would come in.
Plus.
Now that is subtracted from the cost of the bags, to actually buy them, which I think is that.
But the only way for Dan to enforce it is if the landlord bought the bags.
You can
Because if the tenants are buying them, he's back to square one where he can't enforce, he'll never be able to chase people around to enforce it.
Can I grab the floor on this one for a minute?
Sure, go ahead.
So when we first got into this, I honestly in my head thought the bag program was the way to go. It made sense to me that the more you make, the more you pay, because you buy more bags, you contribute more trash. And then the more I dug into it in my head, the more I thought about the demographic here in Southbridge. I determined that I don't think the bag program is the way to go here. I think you're going to find people's trash along the street with their needles and their Narcan. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but
No, you're right.
it's a shame. I think in this town, if you're trying to tell people to go buy a bag, some of the people are going to say, "Forget you," and they're going to do what they want. So, for the topic of conversation, I've done a little bit of math on my own, and I talked to the assessor about how many units we have in town, of different types of units, and I've got some information I'd like to share. And so everybody hears, this is not a town document, this is not a budget. I don't want to be accused of that by anybody. But I did some quick math, and if you want, anybody can have a copy. I don't have a ton, I have like 10, but the quick math I wrote on a sliding scale, which is similar to the water and sewer charges, which I'm familiar with, the more units you have, the cost per unit goes up. This is a total-only estimate based on $2 million of revenue. A single-family home under this model to raise $2 million would pay $31 a quarter. But if you have a two-family home, you're going to pay $73 a quarter, which the scale went up. It's not 31 and 31, it's 31 and 42. If you have a three-family home, it's 126 per quarter. So the scale went up $10 per unit you add. And some of my numbers here at the bottom where you see yellow, this data on how many units I have is not maybe reliable. I need to work with the assessor's office more because I don't know if this is particularly a 3 or 4 unit building or if, like, say, Rosemade is included in this 4+ unit number. So you got to take some of this with a grain of salt. But if we go straight toter and we use this type of model, I think that a senior citizen or a fixed income person, it's tough. But they can probably squeeze out $31.
$31 is a hell of a lot better than $100. I mean, I work 3 damn jobs.
That's
Give me
quarter.
a break.
That's a
Quarter,
quarter.
I mean, that's what I
So
meant.
Okay.
it's not a ton of
quarter.
money. It's substantial
No,
to some people.
it's,
I'm not
it
gonna-
is, and it's on fixed incomes.
But
It is, but it's more
This is
doable.
this is gonna keep some of our esteemed residents from saying, I'm not paying $2 a bag, and we know it's gonna happen.
Yep.
I mean, we know our town. We do. I mean, I know your stats probably say
Yeah.
differently, because you deal with Worcester, you deal with cities that are bigger than Southbridge, I get that. But we see what we see every day.
Yep.
These numbers, to me, if we could raise $2 million and not crush single-family homes who already carry the largest burden in this town for taxes,
Oh yeah.
this model would work. And all we gotta do is continue to use our toters. But really educate people on recycling, educate people on reducing your waste stream. I'm all for that.
Well, he can enforce it because now you'd be after our
Correct.
landlord.
This $126 for a 3-family, the charge all goes to the landlord, especially the out-of-towners who are making a ton.
Yep.
And now you get someone to go after when there's illegal dumping or there's a mess or they're not complying.
Valid point. Yeah.
And this raises $2 million. Now, on the second page, if you look at it, this is for 3 families only. The first page is up to 6 families. I think we should include up to 6 families.
Did you, when you were
Well, there are
drafting
still
this,
those
did you
units here in
include,
town.
some sort of a
Right,
fudge
he's saying
factor
that
for
you
the
can
fact
just
that some
kick
of
them
them,
off and then
like,
have
especially if
to
you're
have
sending
them.
it out of
Yep,
town.
no,
Right.
this is no, this was
And
no
then the
fudge factor.
likelihood is
This
they're
was
not
just
gonna
a
recycle and
real
it's gonna be a mess.
rough estimate on how to raise $2 million and how to make it a sliding scale based on our water and sewer, which is already our policy in town, that the more you use, the more you contribute. And I think if you went with this model, or something similar to it, if this is food for thought, over the next 30 days, everybody can look at this when we meet again, and you can say, Steve, you're crazy, or hey, you're onto something, let's change it.
You're onto
And the
something
idea is
already.
a good one, but if you're doing it as a sliding scale based on how much you use, what you're doing, the problem is that somebody who the households that live in the 3-family building, for example, their bill is high, their individual household bill is higher than those of us who live in a single family.
Just like their water bill.
But they're not necessarily producing any more trash.
Just like their water bill. If you're in a single family house, you use, I can tell you exactly what it is. It's about 50 gallons per person per day in Southbridge.
Okay.
A single family home with 3 people in it's gonna use 150 gallons per day. A 6-family is considerably more. It's 50 gallons per person per day times 6 families.
Yeah.
They're gonna pay more for water at the end of the day. Their landlord, not them.
But the point is, which means which means the landlord will say, in this case, split it 6 ways.
Yep.
Which means the individual householder is still paying more
you are
than
correct.
an individual single family
You are
household.
correct.
Why is that?
It's all based on volume. That parcel is producing higher volume. And actually, in the water side of it, it's actually made to incentivize people to use less. It's made to incentivize water restrictions, water conservations. The same thing would go into effect here. Hopefully, we'll have the landlord maybe leaning on some of his tenants to not be pigs, wasteful.
When's the last time we held any multifamily accountable?
Uh-huh.
That you can
This-
tell me.
this
That you
is-
can tell me.
That
you can tell me.
This is the first time that a 6-family.
When's the last time a multifamily out-of-towner was held?
Yeah.
Never.
Just hang on a second, Mark, so let me just finish my thought. And to your point a little bit, Gus, and maybe I'm a little jaded on this, but I think it's fair. You take your average 3 or 6 family in this town, they use an absorbent amount of police, fire, EMS, schools, roads. For the amount of taxes that building pays, they're getting a deal. And this is the one of the instances where the single family home's gonna get the deal. I think they deserve a deal in this case,
And it's all
especially the
right.
seniors.
So one thing that maybe could help with that, and we did that in Fitchburg, is to say, I know you're a 6-family household, but really you only have 4 people living in this house. Instead of paying to have 6 trash, 6 recycling bins, we really only need 2. We need 2 trash, 2 recycling. And so they had the choice for that situation. And then you can say, you could do
I
that.
think what you'll end up with is a Mount St. trash.
Yeah.
And then here we go.
Yeah, because we all see it.
Yeah.
There we go.
I feel bad for you because you're gonna be riding around with a mattress from God knows where for how long, trying to figure out what you're supposed to do with it.
In the end, this is our town, and I would like everybody to just give this consideration over the next month and tell me what you
That's not a
think.
bad idea.
Cohasset, here we go.
We'll leave them when we're done.
Okay, hold on, Kevin.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate this man's work because I just did a quick math, 6,300, let's say we need $2 million. Divide $2 million by 6,300, comes out to about $1 a day. And if anybody in this town thinks that I'm not paying $1 a day to get rid of my trash, should put a trash bag on their belt loop and walk around and see how much trash they generate in a day. So when I saw this man's figures, I said, yeah, I think that's the way we should be shooting. We should be looking for what is our target goal for an operating cost? Is it 2 million? Is it 3 million? And especially if it's an enterprise fund, we don't have to worry about overestimating because that money is not going to go anywhere but to that process.
That's true.
If there is surplus money in that, it stays there, and if there's enough surplus money, it may even drop the flat fee
Right.
the following.
Exactly.
Or you don't have to,
Exactly.
you know, I always say you try to pick a number for 3 years.
What
If
if,
you pick a good number, maybe it can last
Average
for
it out.
4 years.
Right.
And that you don't have to, but you do need, I tell people, you do need to keep on upping it at least every 2-3 years. Just at least, you know, a little bit, so people don't get upset at year 6 when you say, oh, we
And
need to.
Hold on,
my last
hold on.
point,
Oh, go ahead, finish up.
my last point is that we have seen decades of, or I have seen decades, some of us have seen decades, of gimmicks and projects within this town that say, people are gonna catch on, and they're going to recycle more, and they're not gonna produce the trash anymore, and they're not, people are gonna catch on, they're gonna get educated.
Well, you have. When you went to
What
the
is our-
64-gallon cart, you did have a big decrease.
Let me ask you this. What was our recycling percentage last week?
I don't know your rate because we don't do the rate anymore on those things. I mean, I can do the numbers, but but I have your.
We never get the information out to the people about
Right.
how good they're doing on recycling.
Because your
or
number is
what
really
they can
good
do.
right now. Like I said, 400. What did I have? The 424 pounds of recyclables you do per household, and the average for Central Mass is about 500. So I think you're right there. And because of other communities that are like city operate, because people don't have the money to buy more stuff, so I don't expect you. And because you have a big cart already, it's not like people don't have the space for it.
But we're still throwing away more stuff that maybe should be end up
Disposed
in
of.
recycling. No, we're throwing away stuff that should, because it's not the prime recycling, it's the styrofoam, it's other packaging, it's bubble wrap. I can't recycle bubble wrap.
No, but
I
you
have
can
to
you
put
can
it-
bring it to a place.
But you
So there's people that do.
But there's no place to do it.
I'm
Right.
legally blind.
Yeah.
How many places do you think I drive around?
Let's go for a ride, I'm ready.
How'd you get here?
Hurry up, get in your car and go
Sorry,
home
I'm-
right now.
I'm sorry,
I am.
I'm very passionate, and people know in this room that I'm very passionate about recycling, and I really wish since 1996, when I was standing at that podium shaking, telling people, we need to do something different.
1996 was the best
I'm
price
so
for
sorry.
recyclables ever. Like
What?
I'm
400,
gonna go with Kevin, I'm gonna go with
making
Ms. Clemens
$400
first.
a
I
bag.
just,
Go ahead, Ms. Clemens.
Crazy.
Thanks. I would like to thank Steve personally, because back last spring, when I complained, basically is what I did at a council meeting, and said, where are the numbers? Why are there no numbers? We should have some guesstimate, you know, something. And you did, and when you told me on Monday that you kind of worked up some numbers, and I would say definitely go that higher limit. It's kind of like make sure that you start off strong, because as you say, we can reduce, we can do what, but it's have to increase to people.
Yeah.
So thank you for at least trying, doing, I actually went to the assessor myself one time at the beginning, and she was new, and she kind of gave me this whole, I'm like, this doesn't tell me how many, this is like a.
A 101 and a 102.
It was not even, yeah, so
It's-
I'm really glad that you got something you needed and that you produced this, because for that, that's like what I've been looking to hear is that, and I agree with the
those
comments, and
seniors I
I want
talked
to
to,
say that,
It might work.
you've done a great job as well.
Oh,
Thank
keep-
you for
keep
the
it.
enterprise idea.
I do have it on my file.
You're pushing that theme. I think
That's his extras.
Okay, Mark.
so what, the only question I have is, what is the legality? Like, how do we make everyone in town?
Compliant.
Yeah, what's the legal?
No, it has to be taxes. The only way you can do it is taxes, and even that, if somebody gets a dumpster, you know, you can have a border health regulation that just says no dumpster unless you have. You can make a dumpster regulation.
There's no bylaw that we can make that people have to comply, because there's bylaws in town, so I can just say, I choose not to agree with that bylaw and go on with life.
just that they have to have a legal carrier
Yeah,
if they
illegal.
choose to opt out. Nobody's gonna opt out at $31.
And
Well, that's it.
they still have to
Right,
comply
one choice
with
or the
health
other.
codes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not just our curbside pickup rules and regs. It's the health code that says, you know, you can't, you have to properly store trash in a,
Right, but Steve's right, nobody's gonna opt out for that. Where you're gonna start getting it is
further up on the. mobile
further up on the scale, but I don't know, how much is a 6 family's
Dumpster.
trash? How much is a dumpster for a 6 family? right? Right?
Yeah, but they should
Well,
have
it depends if
recycling
they can
too.
have
Huh?
I pay $100 a month for mine, and it's only a 40-yard dumpster.
Yeah, well, that won't fit 6 families probably.
So these numbers still beat a dumpster,
Oh,
because we're getting that volume price, because we're
Okay.
paying $2
I
million.
don't know, Irene,
I'm sorry.
check here on
Yep.
this.
Yeah, I did, the one thing on this, I think this is good, and I think that it's always good to get creative and to finding something that will work for the town. The numbers, I think the 256, I think Anna has that breakdown. So
Okay.
I just think Anna has that because of how many
Yep.
carts and going out there and doing inspections with the IQ, that we could definitely tie that number down.
Yeah, it was just those
Easier.
larger ones. I
Yeah,
didn't know where the
because-
4 families or 6 families.
Yep.
At what point
We
is
didn't
the
have
rows
that.
made? Some
The
of that
assessors don't have that.
Right, some of that may be in here, so there's some, that's why I put them in yellow, and so the data may not be
Right.
reliable for
Well,
that.
we're also gonna have to fudge it a little bit for the facilities that come online in the EAR.
Well, they're too big, they're over a 6 family. they'd
That's
be
not
exempt.
on that.
But that's in the 4+ you need a permit.
I don't think they're even on here yet, because they're not part of the residential tax base yet, they're still
No,
commercial.
that's what I mean, we
Yeah.
have to
Well,
clean
you're
it.
talking about the AO,
There's
what
still a
about
lot
wells?
of data mining that needs to be done to make this.
Of course, all
That's
those apartments
fair
are
enough,
empty
but-
because they're moving out, but that's beside the point.
All right. So
Yep.
is that it on this conversation,
Management.
Irene?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. So we're gonna have to have a next meeting date, and I suggest that we do it, start kicking it up a little bit.
Yes.
We have to have it, we have to be done by, the town chairman says we need to be done sometime in March. So can everybody meet like every 2 weeks, is that okay? So the 26th would be all right?
Do you think we'll have some other numbers? But I mean,
January
I don't
26th.
know
We are
when.
pushing it, but that's really the timeframe we're
So
looking at.
January
for
26th.
accomplishing.
Well, hold on, let's see, what everybody,
I can
What
do
do
the
you think?
26th.
I can do 26.
what do you think, Irene? 26th, okay?
Yeah,
Same time?
yep,
If you can make it that time so I can be here, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, I
Yeah, it's
appreciate
important, that's
it.
why we moved it out, so you can.
I
definitely
appreciate
attend.
it.
6 o'clock.
6 PM, January 26th. Okay, everybody?
Yep.
I'll take a meeting, notice to adjourn.
Make
Motion.
that motion.
Second?
All those in favor? Thank you.